For example, I want more money in my life. Like every morning I wake up and I do my mantra, like, universe, I'm ready, give me more money. But somewhere in my energy, I feel I'm unworthy. So the universe doesn't listen to the lies that we're telling. It listens to, oh, Keren thinks she's unworthy. Let's show her how she's unworthy. When I'm not listening to what actually wants to unfold, something else will unfold, and usually it's not something that I prefer. Communicating with your body, with your body's intelligence, is not something that you then think of. It's something that you're in connection with. There is never something outside of us. Never, ever, ever, ever something outside of us. We are all the time in our own inner journey, and the world is just a manifestation of it.
Welcome back to Spirit Unfolding in a new studio, and with the first time that a guest is coming on 2 times, because we want to give the people what they want. And so many of you commented and contacted us directly, and it was a beautiful opportunity to sit down with Keren again and go deeper into energetic work and just a conversation with how we have a conversation with the universe. Mm-hmm. So very grateful to have you here again.
Thank you. You're my favorite conversation partners. Next to the universe.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I want to dive into that, because that whole part of what we talked about just now before we started recording, and also over the last weeks, we've both been in this period of transition and like both renovating our homes, and so much happening, so much turmoil in the outside world, but also internally. Yes. And just the realization that we're always communicating with the universe. Mm-hmm. We're always manifesting, if you will, and something exactly. Mm-hmm. And it's not so much about what you are saying all the time. It's way more about like the energetic, more subtle layers underneath. Mm-hmm. So I'd love to dive into that, like your experience with that. Like, how are we always conversing with the universe and with the energies around us, and also maybe some nice examples from your personal life.
Some of my funny examples. Yeah. Mm. Well, when we were speaking before and you were mentioning this manifestation, I was thinking about a lot of programs and a lot of ways that are trying to help people to manifest, but I think that my most clear thing that I've learned about this was when I was studying NLP. So it was really at the beginning of my journey, is the universe always says yes. So I was reading a book, and that book took like NLP into a spiritual level, and it was saying something about so when we, for example, I want more money in my life, and I'm like every morning I wake up and I do my mantra, like, universe, I'm ready, give me more money. But somewhere in my energy, I feel I'm unworthy. Mm-hmm. So the universe doesn't listen to the lies that we're telling. It just listens to the real energy. Yeah. So it listens to, oh, Keren thinks she's unworthy. Let's show her how she's unworthy. Yeah. I say yes to that, because this is actually what I'm asking for. I'm not asking for more money. I'm asking the universe to please show me that I'm unworthy. And so everything that we try to create by manifesting, for me, I see it as just a circle that we are walking. But when you really want to manifest, it's actually doing the more shadow work. It's diving more deeper into what is actually standing in my way from just receiving that. We don't have to manifest. We just have to open and be receptive, because we are already getting everything that we want.
Yeah, we're more like, we need to get out of our own way, in a sense. We need to dissolve the beliefs and the illusions that we are not worthy, that we are not connected, which are making sure that we are actually not able to receive. But do you not think as well that, in a sense, those manifestations and that idea of manifesting in that way can help, in a sense of, I agree, if your belief system underneath is not aligned, nothing will happen, but those things can also like help to change your beliefs about yourself.
Of course.
Yeah.
So of course, when you know, a good example that pops up for me is that I was dealing with a lot of inner criticism about my breasts for a long time in my life, and that when I came to the point that I started working with that and just like caressing my breast and touching them and looking in the mirror and telling my breast that they are beautiful, that I'm happy that they're there, that they nourished my kids, allowed me to sink into a different way. So of course, when we take this example for I want a new job, or I'm looking for a life partner, I'm worthy of this, and saying to yourself every day, like, I am worthy, will change something. Yeah. Of course.
Yeah.
But it's not the only thing that needs to change.
Yeah.
When we want something, this is something that we were talking about. Like when we want something, we have to make space for that thing to happen. And I think that is one of the biggest realizations that both of us had in the past months.
Yes. Yeah, you can want all the things, but if there's no space for them to appear, if there's no space for you to receive them, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
And it's really about having these, I would almost call them like little deaths, like sort of this, like these parts of not just things that you do or things that you experience in your life, but also the part of yourself that's attached to that, that's attached to that little, that certain identity.
Yes.
That at some point, if you can't let that go, you're not really able to tune in, to open up to the new energy and for the new thing to come into your life. And also, if that new thing is what's supposed to happen, it will happen. It's just about how smooth are you able to make the process? Are you like holding on for dear life to all the old things? Yes. And in that sense, kind of, being too full and not being able to open up to new things, the universe will take the steps that you don't want to take, and it's going to be a lot more bumpy ride.
Well, it's going to be not only a bumpy ride, sometimes a very hard ride.
Yeah.
So when we are not accepting the energy that the universe is giving us or the teachings, then actually we are standing in our own way, and then the universe needs to push us out of the way. Like this morning, just before I arrived here, I bumped my car for I don't know how many time. And we were laughing about that. And I was saying, well, there is somebody communicating with my car better than I am. That's the universe. Because every time that I bump my car, it's actually, I'm not fully in my body. I'm not fully present. I know that. I know that when I start to drive my car, I notice that actually what I need is to sit and to breathe. And instead of that, I'm thinking about, but my kid has to be on time at school, and and I run.
Yeah.
And then my car says, okay, well, stop. So it's funny, dangerous, not so funny. But I know actually that when that happens, like I told my kid, we were sitting in the car and he was looking at me, and I was, okay, before I step out of this car, before I try to solve this, I need to take a breath. So please breathe with me. Let's close our eyes and let's just breathe. And we sat there and we were breathing. And then I felt actually all the tension that was in my body. And this seems like a stupid maybe example, and people might think, oh, well, you should know better than to step in your car like this. Of course, all true. But for me, there is a bigger teaching behind that, is that when I'm not listening to what actually wants to unfold, something else will unfold. And usually it's not something that I prefer.
Yeah. Yeah, true. And it's so in the moment where you're kind of sensing that something new wants to unfold, but you're still holding on a bit too much to the old ways or the old thing. You're because it's not fully visible or manifested yet, how beautiful that new thing can be. It's about really learning to trust that what looks to be scary is actually going to be beautiful.
Yeah, I'm now thinking, I'm not sure if the last time that we spoke, if I spoke about it, but even if I spoke about it, then I speak about it again. When I was sitting in darkness, like the only conversation I was having with Spirit is how Spirit showed me, you see this? This is a scene in your life. And it was really like as if I was sitting in a cinema. And my background is in the film industry, so I've seen a lot of films and I've read a lot of scripts. So I see things. I have like a strong metaphor in life for movies, and it was as if I was seeing scenes of my life where Spirit showed me, like, okay, this is you. You're a fucking control freak. So this is how you think you should control, because you don't trust me. You don't trust that I'm ambitious for you. You don't trust that you're worthy of receiving all the goodness there is. And so there is a part of you that wants to work hard. And it's not only work like in my work. It was mostly in all types of relationships, in friendship, in whatever. And it showed me, this is how you control it. This is how you manipulate it. And this is the result you get. It's not a bad result, but this is what you could have gotten. And it was a bit of a humor. There was humor in it all the time. And it was like some scenes were like a horror film, and some scenes were like a comedy, and some really dramatic. But it was all, you see, if you just trust me, you will receive what you really want. And so open yourself. And the past week, so I'm guiding now a group of women in a trajectory, a year and a half of finding their own medicine. It's called Find Your Medicine. And something wasn't moving there for me. And I was like, okay, what is happening? Why isn't it moving? I could feel like in the undercurrent some frustration. And so I was sitting with myself. What is holding me back? And then I could see this cage that I'm building around myself all the time. Like continuously, I find a new cage to go into. And what I realize is when I'm asking people to show up fully in order to find their own medicine, I need to do that as well. I need to trust as well. And so I could sense where I was bracing myself, where I was holding myself back from standing fully in my own medicine. That's scary. Even if I do it a lot, it keeps being scary to say, okay, I've seen this, I trust this, I do it. And I'm showing up, I'm just releasing all control, releasing everything. I'm standing here, I'm fully open, show me.
Yeah.
Because what if, I think that like when I speak this out, what comes out from a very, like in my root, but what if nobody catches me? What if nothing shows up?
of course I recognize this.
Yeah.
And it's so tricky because we are actually holding ourselves back from showing ourselves and stepping into our true potential, our full potential, by showing an adapted, I would say, like, less strong version of ourselves, in the belief that that's going to get us everything.
No, it's not the belief that that is going to get us everything. I think that the belief is, if I work hard for it, I will get it. And if it doesn't succeed, then I have something to hit myself with, like to martyr myself with. You see, I'm not good enough. You see, I haven't worked hard enough. So it's proving actually somewhat of a self-fulfilling prophecy of the unworthiness that every one of us hold in one way or another. At least if I speak for myself, I can understand that fully releasing, that fully stepping out of the way will bring something forward that I have to then say, this is. So maybe it wouldn't be me speaking in an arena for 50,000 people. I don't know, that's not really my ambition, but let's say this was my ambition.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just realizing that this is my audience, you are my audience, and it's just about talking to you. And that is the ambition. So somewhere we're picking up all kind of dreams. I think that a lot of those dreams, if I speak for myself, a lot of those dreams keep also coming from the outside world. What is expected of us, what we expect, but also life. You know, when you're constructing your house, you need something that is very necessary, and that's money.
Yeah.
So we have to manifest money. And when you don't have it, it's stressful. And then while I'm saying that, I want to also voice that I already feel super grateful that I have money and I have a house. Like, let's speak that out first, because that's already such a privilege to have in this life.
Yeah, which is kind of easy to step over when you and everyone that you have in contact with are very abundant in that sense. Yes. But actually to realize, like, oh, a really big part of the world is in a very different place.
Totally different space. Yeah.
What about, because it's what you're saying in a sense is like, oh, so I don't need to work super hard to get what is
coming
meant for me or coming to me.
Yeah.
At the same time, it's also not sitting on the couch and just laying back. So it's really about like something in the middle. Mm-hmm. You do need to get the right energy. You do need to like start moving in, and actually, you know, you have a big responsibility in creating your own life. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, tuning into what wants to happen, and not so much what do I want to happen, because they can be different things, or maybe the small I and the big I are different parts of ourselves, right? So let's say the ego and the protective part of ourselves, or the more conditioned part, and then there's like the higher self that has a different plan or a higher plan for us. Yeah. How would you say we open up to the bigger part, while also not sitting back and waiting around?
So this is actually all about deep awareness. I feel that the strongest part you were mentioning before about little deaths, well, actually from a shamanic perspective, we voice it as death, not little death. It's like part of you coming to the surface and realizing the pattern that is beyond that part, whatever is manipulating this part to be active. And when you are in this awareness, this part is allowed to die. You put it on the altar and you allow it to die. and you devote yourself to it, to allowing it to die. From there, like a phoenix, something new can arise from its ashes. So that's already, I think, the biggest piece of this puzzle of stepping from, I don't really like the word ego because we need ego.
Yeah.
We need ego, otherwise we cannot live in a human form. So I love more the little I and the big I. And like little me, who is totally in my story and identified with a lot of what has happened to me, my character, that one is a very manipulative story. It pushes me in a direction, right? So tuning into the big I, or allowing the big I to flow through me, my higher self to flow through me and to move me. And I was explaining this to a client of mine last week. It was very beautiful. We had a session, and in the session he came to a realization about how he was manipulating something in his life and where it started.
Yeah.
It started at a very, very young age and out of a lot of fear. So coming to that realization, he was looking at me and he said, like, so this is what was moving me for all my life? And I was like, yeah, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, could be. And now, like, what do I do? Do I just sit back? And I said, well, I see it. I'm not a surfer, but when I observe surfers, I think that it's a little bit has the same type of energy. Like when a surfer stays lying on the surface and the wave will come, it will wash you over and you're on the bottom of the sea. So you have to, but you also cannot take the wrong wave. So you have to be in contact. And why I like this is because you're in contact with one of nature's most violent elements, water. So it's a very violent element, the water. It has a lot of destruction in it, but also a lot of softness and a lot of movement in it. So you're lying there, and this is how I see life. I try to, at least, to live my life in this way, to lie on the water and to be really deeply in contact with the energies around me, and to feel, okay, now it is asking me to move. So now I need to stand up and to find balance.
Yeah. To feel into like this, to take care of yourself and feel into the subtle movements and to know before it's there. That's my wave.
That's my wave.
Yeah.
You know it. Like when I talk, because I find it fascinating. I find surfing like one of the most beautiful things to watch as well. Like it has such an elegance and control, like everything is in there. Same as dancing, actually. I love that when you see, like, when you talk to dancers, dancing is also one of my passions. When you talk to dancers, they have the same thing. They are communicating with something that is so much bigger than them, because it's almost physically impossible to function in this state, like physically function in this state. So when you dance, you really have to go into something that is so much bigger than you and to move you in order to be able to move. So when you look at, when you're visually looking at it, dancers or surfers, you're seeing there is something there. They are moving, but it's not only them. And, you know, I don't know about a lot of other sports, but these are the two things that I like, because it's also the communication with something that I see.
It's that part that it's often called flow. I think it's sort of tapping into something that you know it's not really you. I've experienced it a couple of times. So I did downhill mountain bike racing this is a long time ago already, like 10, 15 years ago. And I've had a few races, I think 3, where everything clicked. And it's like, so this is 4 or 5 minutes of going between 20 and 50k an hour, and there's jumps and rocks, and there's lots of people on the side, like at least hundreds, possibly thousands, with chainsaws and all kinds of stuff that makes as much noise, with the chain off, but like just to have something that makes noise, and like all these rattle things and horns or whatever. And one time I just went out of the start gate, and it's a silent tunnel of only the vision where I need to go. I didn't even realize, I didn't hear anything else. I only heard my tires hitting the floor, the sand, the dust, the rocks. And as soon as I'm across the finish, all of a sudden the world opens up again. And it's like, oh, there's all this noise, there's all these people. But in that moment, like the five senses work completely different. And it's like, it goes by itself. So I'm not really doing it anymore. But that can only happen if you've done it enough times for your system, for it to become automatic, for it to become second nature. And I feel like, yeah, it's been really a pleasure to have experienced that a couple of times. And it's also been with filmmaking, with editing. Sometimes you just get into the flow, and all of a sudden it's been 5 hours. You haven't had a break, you haven't drinking anything. That quality of life. How do we get into that more? What's your experience like, and what is that exactly?
It's beautiful what you say, because listening to you, like, I realize something, that we have to get in. We have to practice. Like, when you're not a surfer and you you go lying on a surfboard, most probably you will fall down again and again and again and again and again and again. And then you tune in a little bit more, and you find your rest, and you find your calm, and you get to know the waves, and then and then it's there. And I think that what you're explaining about your mountain biking was the same. Like, it was not your first time riding the bike. It was a lot of hours that you put in, a lot of effort, knowing your muscles, knowing your power, knowing your bike, knowing the ground, hearing like the noises. So everything is a practice. This is what I heard when I heard you say, oh, it's actually we're practicing life. So how do we get there? We get there by practicing. And I'm thinking about last week, I was in our workshop by David Bedrick of the Unshaming Way, one of my teachers, and I love his work. And something that I really loved what he said is, okay, something comes to the surface and you're realizing this. And now your challenge is to not fixate yourself on this. Because you will still, even if you know this, you will fall, you will go back into old habits, then you will realize it again. And it's the practice. It's about the journey. And I love it, because all the things that I do, like every course that I make up, I call it a journey, because I don't like the word workshop or course or training. It's just not. I love the journey. I love enjoying the ride. And that's also the practice, and understanding that, yes, I've had a lot of practice over the years. And still, I'm always learning, because I forget. And little me gets in the way, and she thinks, well, you're so trusting. Let's not trust anymore. I don't know why, but today I'm not trusting anymore. And I think I have to work hard. So I will work hard today, and I will brace you, because what if you fly high? So there's something really important in understanding the journey.
I will praise you, because what if you fly high?
Yeah.
We're all, I feel like a lot of us, or maybe it's ingrained in us, like there's, of course, part of us wants to protect us. Of course, obviously. Yet sometimes that is turned up to a level that is not really needed, and it's actually withholding us. Maybe it's about like practicing more, where we can rewrite the code in a sense. Like we can teach ourselves, our body, or our subconscious system, it's okay. Maybe we can't go directly to the sun, but we can go a little bit closer and a little bit closer every step again. This whole idea of devotion, because death and devotion, right? This whole idea of what you just talked about, and also in one of the journeys of you that I'm following last week, you were kind of giving everyone a bit of an ass whooping in a loving way, but I felt like it was needed, and it really spoke to this part of like a lot of the people in the group felt like there's not enough moving. But then when you call out everyone like, hey, but are you actually doing your practice every day? It was almost unanimously no. And then it's like, okay, well, there's all these reasons. And for me, like, okay, I've been like redoing a house for a month, and I felt like there wasn't space. But there would have been a few minutes a day. So, okay, maybe if you can't do let's say the 1 hour practice or the 20-minute practice, see if you can turn it into a 2 or a 5 minute thing, for it to still, continuously touch that part and start to rewrite that part, and also like show yourself what devotion really means. Why is devotion so important? And what does it mean to be in devotion to life?
Yeah, it touches me. I feel tears coming up. Yeah, what touches me deeply is that, especially the moment that you were speaking to, yes, I was voicing that to the group, but the group is just a mirror of me. So after that, I sat for 2 hours with myself and saying, okay, these are the people that chose me as their teacher. What are they showing me about me? Where am I not devoting myself? Where am I bracing myself? Where am I not choosing me? And through that, I could already see, okay, this is what has to move. So I think this is a very important part to understand, that there is never something outside of us. Never, ever, ever, ever something outside of us. And we might think it, but it's never like that. We are all the time in our own inner journey, and the world is just a manifestation of it, consciously or unconsciously. So that's the first thing that I wanted to say. And then when I was speaking more about, so for me, it's not about sitting and meditating. It's not about doing your yoga practice. It's not about writing in your journal. It's actually, how do I live life as a ceremony? How do I devote myself to life? And where am I bracing myself from that? And realizing that when we devote ourselves, what we put on the altar, and I always say that, be careful what you wish for, because you might get it. And then?
And are you aware of what that means?
Are you aware of what that means? Like, are you aware that when you're asking to speak truth, that maybe 85% of the people around you don't want to hear your truth? That is why you don't speak your truth. You started to shut your truth up because you thought that everybody needs you to be in a certain way. So speaking your truth has consequences. Or, I don't know, you're asking for a lot of money. The consequences of having a lot of money is that people want a lot of you.
Yeah.
So there is a flip side to everything.
Yeah.
That's the first thing about wanting or asking for something. And then for me, I loved the title of our last episode, Dancing with Existence, because for me, this is where we turn life into ceremony, is how do I tune in to the dance that I'm invited to? And I most certainly can say that this morning I was not doing that. So when I'm doing it, it's not about it, because I was up at 6 and I did meditate, but it gave me absolute nothing if an hour later I overrun myself.
Yeah.
So the practice is living in your practice, is making everything and every moment and every second your practice. And you were asking about the devotion. And there is something that I love about this word. It's really a word that I love to use much more than intention. Because for me, devoting myself is saying, I'm going to make space for this to happen.
Yeah. And I'm doing it no matter what, in a sense.
Yeah.
And intention is more like, you can kind of say, well, it was my intention, but it didn't happen.
Yes.
But you want points for trying, or for believing that you would have tried, but you haven't even.
Yeah.
In a sense, yeah.
And there is, like I was speaking to a friend of mine that was going into ceremony this weekend, and I asked what was his intention for it, and he said, well, I trust in the universe, and I trust that the universe knows what I need and what I want, and that it will come to me. And then I said, okay, I have to say a little prayer for you. Please hold this prayer in your heart, because when we are saying, okay, I trust, the universe wants your best interest. And let's say that now you're super cluttered. Everything is foggy in your life. You're actually totally not up at the point where you should be. And you say to the universe, I'm open, show me. There's going to be a tsunami in your life. Because, yeah, that's how nature works.
Yeah.
And do you want that to happen? Like, are you ready for the tsunami to hit you? So I said to him, okay, it's okay to trust in the universe. I love you for that. And yes, the universe knows. But shall we just ask for sweetness and ease? Like, say before you go into ceremony, I don't have intention because I trust you, universe, to show me. But please, when you show me in softness and sweetness and ease what will be the next step. And then he laughed. He said, oh yeah, okay, if I make you happy, I will say that. Yeah, so going back to devoting and the difference between devoting and intention. When I devote myself to something, I'm also ready to die. Devotion and placing something on the altar and death, for me, it's like they belong together. If I devote myself to, for example, I want to live this life. I want to live my life as a ceremony. I want to touch the hearts of people with my being, with the way that I teach, with what I have to bring. But at the same time, I have a full-time job, work 9 to 5, because, I don't know, this is something that is present in my life. I will not have the time. Yeah. So then I can have this intention. Maybe I do it in a different way. Maybe I do it in the job that I already have, whatever that is. But if this is my specific, like, okay, let's get more specific, because when we devote ourselves, we have to become specific to what we are asking. So I want to touch the hearts of people with my shamanic teachings. I want these people that are resonating with me to come into my life, and I want to show up for them in the best way that I can. Oh, now we are more specific. What part of me has to die? And I can feel it immediately. The part of me that has to die is that part that is running around like crazy. I can still feel that part somewhere touching buttons in my life. I've very beautifully created golden cages where it's super comfortable for me to be. And am I ready to set those cages, to open up the cages and to say, okay, I set myself free, let's see what happens. I trust, whatever. Because, then I have a conversation with my bookkeeper, my financial guy, and he says to me, if you are choosing this, then this is the consequences. And then I feel the contraction. And I think, how can this be that I feel this contraction? I feel so secure. There is such an opening, and still, woo. Now when I see the facts of this life, there is contraction. So opening up, I put on the altar, okay. I put maybe financial security in the way that I am perceiving it at this moment, because my head is just cannot grasp anything else. And what I noticed, because I've been doing this for quite a while and have been through many deaths, is that after that death, always is rebirth. Always. So the most contracted part is when we are in the birth canal, when we are not seeing the light, when we are stuck and it hurts and it's too small.
And we feel like we are actually going to die.
And we feel, oh my God, why have I chosen this? I'm going to die. Help, help, help.
Oh, no one's helping me. Yeah.
Nobody's helping me. And then, there is light. There is breath. And the relief. And then there is expansion. Through that come literally, if you look at it like the baby in the birth canal, which is super contracted, too small, your whole body parts need to go in a different direction in order to fit in. And after that, everything expands. The whole body expands, everything expands. So energetically, this is of course also what is happening.
Yeah. You're creating so much space for new things to arrive. You're creating more space within yourself. You're holding on less tight in a sense. And by that sense, also the body is actually less tight. And yeah. I feel like kind of a bridge towards something that I want to dive into deeper as well, which I recently shot at one of your retreats, spinal attunement, which is that part as well, like that the technique where you are on a very subtle energetic level feeding into what the body needs, or where the body wants to move, and then because of that, actually on the more physical level, things change. That's I understand a bit more than that, but I would love for you to explain, like, please, what is that exactly and how is it for you? I know you could describe it as, in a sense, a canvas, like for all the other techniques that you have in master, in a sense, that you can work with in that container, on that canvas. Yeah, why that? Why is that the canvas, and what can you do exactly? Yeah. What do you feel like is possible for people to, because I'm not sure, you're doing something, but you're also, like, just in a sense helping other people to to free up where the wisdom of their body can actually deal with themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's funny now that you're asking me the question. I feel a different way to answer it than maybe the practical telling something about this tool, because now I understand that something led me to understanding things differently. So in a way, my whole journey, I think, as a lot of people that are working in this industry as healers, come from like the new terminology is like the wounded healer, right? We came from our own wounds, we find what helped us, and then we want to help other people. And so also for me, that was most definitely the place where I started out. Like, okay, if it worked for me, it has to work for other people. And there was a lot of high expectations about helping, still carrying belief that I have to be meaningful and purposeful, and that I didn't get through all this heartache. I wanted to say shit, I will say shit. So I didn't go through all this shit in order to do nothing with it, right? So there was still a part of me that worked hard. And I was talking to a friend of mine who is also a medicine woman. She's from Peru, and we were talking about the difference in the old ways, like the old shamanic teachings, and what I came to understand, like what I said to her, oh, but wait, we are modern shamans. We have to get like the old teachings, we have to understand them, we have to embody them, and we have to translate them into a different pace, into a different era, we cannot live pragmatically in this is how it needs to be done, because when those teachings were accurate, it was a whole different world.
Yeah.
So one of the things that led me to understanding spinal attunement, I think more to depth, was the fact that I was really frustrated as a healer or a shamanic practitioner when people would come to me with their problems and would tell me, like, I don't know, like you, I have a lot of pain on my shoulders and a back pain and whatever. And of course I would speak to you and I would immediately see, okay, well, you're carrying around quite a lot of weight on your shoulders that is not yours. So now I would talk to you, you will understand it.
Yeah.
Maybe we would grasp it also on an energetic level. We would see like, oh, you're carrying this actually from lifetimes, maybe from your family lines. And then we will come to the understanding, we're cutting these cords. Okay, now I cut these cords, but your body is used to carrying a lot of weight. Now it's free and it's thinking, I don't know what to do. It's panicking. So it's calling back in the weight.
The thing it knows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's calling back in the addiction to pain. It's on a very subconscious level. It's not in consciousness, but somehow we're pulling it back.
Yeah.
And then, okay, like I'm a very impatient Israeli person, right? So I would go like, 2 months ago, we worked on it. You walked away free. Now you're back with the same thing. Interesting. How to solve this? When I came to work with spinal attunement, I understood something on a different level. So for me, it's, I think also the way that that it was meant for me to understand it. Like every tool that we get, when it's in our hands, we use it differently. So it's not per se how, it is also how it's being taught, but it's also my interpretation, the energy that works through me when I'm teaching this tool or when I'm working with it, is understanding all the layers. So the different bodies, the different energetic bodies, understanding the anatomy of the body, and then actually not coming from a perspective that I am the one that is going to open up something in you. I'm just communicating with your body. So what I'm doing is I'm asking the body, please show me where you're ready to open. So as I feel it, before I would work from a spiritual perspective, I would see like, okay, maybe this comes from another life or whatever. It's a weight of your ancestral, and I will come from a spiritual perspective, and I would try to force it into the body. Like the best way to explain this is a soul retrieval. Like a soul retrieval is the shamanic thing. If you can do a soul retrieval, you can call yourself a shaman. And in a soul retrieval, what the shaman does, it goes into the underworld and it gets a piece of your soul that has been lost in time, frozen in time, and it then gets blown back into your body. Very cool thing to do. But if your body is not open, if there is no space in your body, there is no space in your body. So your body is not open. It's not there to receive this whole piece and to bring it back home. And this is what I find through this work of spinal, which led then to a lot of different unfoldings. But through this work, I came to understand, oh, interesting. So now the body is showing me this piece of cell memory. I'm ready to open. So first, I don't have to search. Like I'm not searching in your energetic field. Your body is showing me what it is ready to release. And then through what the body is showing me, I'm actually looking in the different bodies. So where is it stored physically? Is it stored emotionally, mentally, spiritually, on the soul level? And through that, I communicate with the body. So this is how I feel spinal works. And then through that, I came to witness the body in a different way. And understanding that actually the body, the vehicle, if we communicate through the vehicle to the soul, that might be something that is really transforming without wanting to heal or to fix anything.
Yeah.
So through that, I came to the unshaming way. And for me, actually combining these two bodies of work together with shamanism, with my whole shamanic perspective, wow, it's mind-blowing. Because there is such a deep intelligence stored in our body. Our body knows. And it knows exactly what is right for you. So you, as Lars, might think, I'm fed up with this back pain. I want to get rid of it. And please, I go to a chiropractor and he cracks my back. And then I go to a physiotherapist and I go to an acupuncturist and now it's solved for a little bit. And then your body brings it back in. And it's not because the body is stupid. It's because the body is infinite intelligent.
Yeah, and there's something in my system, or I'm doing something in my life that is recreating that again.
It wants
and
to
again.
show you,
Yeah.
oh, actually, this is what you should be looking at.
Yeah.
Or this is not yet where I am.
It's not about healing or in a sense fixing it by making it go away. It's about going deeper into it to see what it wants to tell me.
And understanding the pattern. So when we are talking again about this dance with the universe and bringing, making life a ceremony. So it's not about, I want to make this go away, but how can I move with this? How can I be okay with the fact that I'm not yet a professional surfer, but I'm just lying here on my surfing board trying to get up? And maybe this lifetime I spent only lying on this surfboard. Maybe I don't get to stand up.
Yeah.
In this specific thing.
Yeah.
Am I okay with that?
Yeah. And am
Not
I still
shaming that.
am I still going to do it,
Yeah.
knowing I will never get up in this life?
Yeah. Yeah, a beautiful thing that touches me there is like physical pain, chronic pain. I talk about it a lot because I have it. And not a lot of people see it because I'm a very active person. But I don't sleep a lot at night. From a very young age, I have insomnia, and it goes and it comes. And I have physical pain. And for the longest time, I've tried to get rid of it because it's really inconvenient. And it would be so fantastic if I could just use even more of all that energy that my body has. But more and more I come to understand that this intelligence of my body is the only thing that can slow me down, because otherwise I'm unstoppable, or my car needs to get more aggressive. Now it was just a mirror, nobody hurt, the other car doesn't hurt, right? So yeah, something has to have the intelligence to keep me on the ground. Yeah. And that's the pain, that's the feeling of tiredness after a night of not sleeping. So instead of judging it, or trying to fix it, or trying to heal it, what helped me a lot in unshaming it is realizing, if it moves, and if I see exactly where it began, and I come to understand it, and I can now see it, I can now love it. Instead of say, well, you're not okay as you are, I'm not whole. I'm not wholeness if I cannot sleep. So I'll try to fix this something in me that is not whole. Your pain in your back is exactly what it needs to be. It keeps you whole.
But I can imagine that's a pretty kind of tough thing to hear, in a sense. Like, I understand your perspective for someone that has a different perspective, or that's like in so much pain that maybe they can't even get through the day normally.
Yeah, so I'm not as good as David in this work. So go to David Bedrick's website and go, if you have any kind of chronic pain, go to his work, because what he does is magic. It's really magic. I've been on a couple of his workshops when he's talking to people with chronic pain, and it's really hard to talk about it without experiencing it. So but there is something, and it's not of the mind. So now that I'm speaking, it is something that you think you need to create, but by allowing this thought to be real. But it's actually nothing of that. By doing this practice, so first let's really be clear about it, that I think that you cannot solve this with the mind. It's not a different of perspective.
Right.
It's not about, I can think this to be okay. And when you are guided into the communication with your body, so through spinal attunement, through the unshaming way, through whatever for you works. For me, these two tools are really sharp, have sharpened my perspective. But communicating with your body, with your body's intelligence, is not something that you then think of. It's something that you're in connection with.
Yeah, you feel it on a way deeper, in a different way, in a deeper way, in a sense. Yeah.
So now it's not anymore I'm talking about my pain, but I'm talking with my pain. And for me, this was a deep paradigm shift. The paradigm shift of I don't have to fix anything. I'm not sick.
I listened to a couple of podcasts where David Bedrick was a guest, and he went into that, which it made me think about how you approach spinal. So it doesn't surprise me that you connect them. Where he talked about like, okay, there's a certain part, there's a certain pain, or there's a certain thing that your body's doing that you don't want it to do. Let's go into it. What does it tell me? And if you really, really go into it, then you will feel like if you don't want it, and not in the sense of wanting it to disappear, but like, what can you teach me? Or what and it there's a there something will arise, something will come up. Yeah, I'd love to get him on at some point. We tried, but it will be at some point.
It will come. You know, what I'm thinking of is that for me, this is actually the key to energetic work. This is how I teach energetic work. So when you come to train with me, what I bring to the table in teaching the body of work, which is called spinal attunement, what I bring to the table is this whole perspective. And that's a part of my story. So every trainer, every teacher, they have their own perspective of their experience, and they bring something else to the table, which I find really beautiful. So the communication with the body, the communication with existence, with when I'm fully am, trusting that there is something that is more intelligent than me. And I keep coming to this because it amazes me that when, through spinal, we are not communicating in words. So it's just the body. In ceremony, we go into ceremony, we communicate with spirits. In the unshaming way, we're talking to the parts of us that are being shamed, the inner critics, the voices that are contracted in us. And it's all a path to communicate deeper with something other than the little me. It's all a way to understand life from a different perspective and to reconnect yourself to a source. So when we are reconnecting ourselves to a source, I'm looking now at the plant that is behind you, and I'm thinking of one of the plants in my house. So when a plant is almost dying, my husband doesn't see it as something that is alive. We were moving our house, and And there were 2 plants that were almost dying, and I forgot to tell him like I would take them, and he put them outside, and then there was a lot of heavy rains and they were dead. And there is just 1 plant in my house, and it's very ill. So it needs a lot of my attention and intention. But every time I think, okay, now I need to throw you away, one little new leaf comes and it gets sick. And I look at it and I think, oh, please show me how to take care of you. So I just sit with it. It's like on my altar, because it shows me also me. I want to grow. Like, I want to live. I want somebody to take care of me. I want to be nourished. I want to trust life. And there is like something inevitable. If you won't kill it, it will keep on trying to grow.
Yeah, that's what life does.
That's what life does. And so I trust, I try to trust. I say, okay, I will keep you. I will give you like the right water. I will put you exactly in the sun where you need to be. And I will just trust it. At one point, you will show me something else than the sickness that I'm seeing. And that's a beautiful example. That's a beautiful metaphor to, if I give up, then it will die.
Yeah.
And there is the right way to try to communicate, to try to dance with it, to try to evolve. And there is something in me that really also wants to voice a very deep importance in listening to the 2 of us talk. That after our first podcast, I was thinking of, also because like my the one that I care about the most to hear what he thinks about, it's my husband. And he voiced to me, like, after weeks that he didn't have, like, he wanted to find the right time to listen, and I was like sitting really nervous when is he going to listen to it? Like 53K viewers, and I love it, but I actually don't care. I want him to listen and want to know what he thinks. And then he said to me something that I came to realize, and he's my biggest mirror in that. He said, well, when you hear you and Lars talk, it might seem like you're talking about the truth. Because you're so agreeing, you understand each other. And I said, So first comes the part of me that wants to, of course, defend this. But I learned to listen and to feel what is moving inside of me. And then I said, yeah, I can see how that is true. If you're listening to us. And then I feel, so also for the listeners, this is just a perspective. There is no truth in it except for my own truth, my own experiences, and how I make my life easier by believing this.
Yeah, a different way might work better for someone else that has had a different life and a different...
Exactly.
Yeah.
And maybe this resonates with you. Maybe it gives you a perspective that you are resonating with, and it opens, like, I love it, because we received so many beautiful messages from people that had a lot of heart-opening reactions. So I just want to say about everything that we are speaking about, that it's really important to feel your own truth in it and feel what resonates, and what doesn't resonate, just it's okay.
Of course.
It's okay. We all have different perspectives to life, and somehow we're trying to, I think, in this, to challenge each other as well, right?
Yeah.
Into, hey, what could help me expand?
Yeah, I love that word. And I think that whole idea of expansion. And I think it's something that, I mean, me personally, us, but also just, let's say, humanity on a bigger scale, like, seems to be a challenge for a lot of people to honestly and openly investigate a perspective that is contrary to the one they're currently holding, to be actually curious to someone that says something that triggers you, to be curious why it's triggering you, and to be curious, okay, why is that person actually believing that? And is there maybe some truth, or is there something interesting that I can learn from that perspective, from that, not fact, but facet of existence? Because we all have unique perspectives. And I mean, I notice it myself still, like, it's, I mean, geez, we've just been renovating for a month. My girlfriend and I agree on a lot of things, but not on everything. And there's been moments where I just wasn't able to just listen to her because I was so identified with my solution or my perspective. And then, like, luckily we can laugh about it. And, like, 10 minutes later, I'm like, I'm being an idiot. Like, why? But it's still very tricky. And I also noticed in myself earlier in my, let's say, awakening journey, I was very much attached to my beliefs, and I was, like, almost attacking everyone that wasn't believing the same thing. And now I'm seeing, like, oh, I was on, like, let's say the journey is like 1 kilometer, and I was everything within that width of 1 meter, everything that was not that, I was, like, sort of I was being very negative about. And now I can, like, see the humor in it and laugh about it more, but I'm obviously still doing it in a different way. And it's really about, I feel like, learning to not take yourself so seriously and be more open to different perspectives. And it's something that I really wish for us all to learn more and to dive into more, and to be honestly curious about, what can this person teach me today, instead of how can I convince them that my perspective is the truth.
Yeah, it's beautiful when you're saying, like, not take ourselves as serious. I have humor, but I'm also a very serious person, so I do take myself very serious. And yet I feel that what has changed me forever by listening to bodies is that I don't know. And this is my journey. So in spirituality, it still invited my mind to form a type of knowing. As a therapist, when people come to you, they look at you as if you're having the solution. So you're finding solutions, you're scanning, okay, this might have something to do with his birth story. This is how I know, and then I will guide you through understanding something about your birth story. When I started listening to the bodies of people, the body showed me, well, yes, can be that it's something that has to do about his birth story. But now he's going in a totally different direction. He's showing you this. Are you ready to let go of what you were thinking in order to follow him, because this would be to his best potential? And this was what the body taught me. So something very deep in me had to die. I know. Like this, I'm really I was holding on to that piece of me that knows everything. It was very dear to me. So I needed to put that on the altar, the knowing of something and the curiosity to, okay, maybe you will show me something that I don't know yet. And I think still you can take yourself very seriously about your perspective. If I look at my relationship with my husband, my perspectives are really important for me. But by looking in curiosity to the way he perceives life, and I gain the only way that I can be with him is to be curious. Otherwise, there is a lot of bumps. If I'm not curious, it's just like this with us.
It makes sense, right? I mean, no one wants to be told what to do all the time. It feels very invalidating, and it feels very being controlled. And I'm also like, why would you want? I mean, I know this. A lot of this happens on a subconscious level, of course, but I think it would help us all to ask ourselves, why do I want to be with this person if I'm not actually genuinely curious about their perspective and who they really are? Why am I trying to change them?
Yeah, because this is what we thought, this is what we were taught love is, right? Like I come back to a very beautiful YouTube video that I once seen of a rabbi who is talking about fish love. And he's saying, like, do you love fish? And the person says, yeah, I love fish. So why you eat it? And then through that, he started, like, if you really genuinely love fish, then you won't change it. You will allow it to to go in the water and to live its life. And it was not like something, he went, the thing that I got from it, the insight that I got from it, so I cannot fully express what he was saying because I forgot. But what I got from it was, he was talking about love in general, like what we do in love. So I love you, and now I want you to be like I want you to be. Yeah. Not like you want to be or you needing to be. Now I'm going to change you because that's more convenient to me if you are as I want you to be.
Yeah. And as soon as you notice yourself there, it's about, like, for me, it's about, oh shit, going back in. Why am I doing this?
Yeah.
What is too scary for me to just let that person be 100% who they are? Why am I not capable of being with that? What part of me gets triggered or is ashamed or painful? Or yeah. Just going back a little bit to you've said a couple of times, like putting stuff on the altar, sacrificing it in a way. How does that practically look like for you? Because it feels like a kind of a concept that's sort of in the air, but like how can I make it more tangible? How can people make it practical?
Yeah, I'm searching for the right words to explain it in a maybe more practical way. So, if I'm talking about putting knowing on the altar, so there is a piece of me in my life from a very young age that scanned the area and it got security from knowing everything. So I would know a lot. Like I have a lot of factual knowledge in my head. It made me a very smart person and a very eager student. And at one point, this energy, so in the start, the intelligence is always intelligent, right? So it gives us something that allows us to survive. And then I came to the understanding, okay, you know, this part of me that wants to know everything, it not wants to know, that needs to know everything and has to have the answer for everything, this part is no longer serving me. So first step of understanding is awareness, is being aware of this part that is keeping you away from from this part that is keeping you in control. That's actually it. So this part is keeping me in control, the part that I have to have the answers to everything. So then I become aware of it, and through becoming aware of it, I say, okay, this part is not serving me the way that I want it to serve. Like, it's not serving its purpose anymore. I put it on the altar. And how I put it on the altar is, first I say to Spirit, that's my way. So my way is to say to Spirit, this part is no longer serving me. I'm putting it on the altar, and I put with it everything that belongs to this part. All the cords, all the, like I see it as a web of all these threads that are connecting to this part, that this part was manipulating. If you see it as a puppeteer, it's like the wooden thing and the strings of the puppet, and you're putting the whole puppet and the hand, everything, you're putting it on the altar, because then you know that everything is allowed to find transformation, to die. Then I devote myself. So I know this part needs to die, and I need to find the correct devotion. In the unknowing is to find the devotion of curiosity. So I devote myself to being curious, which you might think that you are, but actually a lot of us are really curious. A lot of us make, in a very quick way, already a judgment or an understanding about something. So to be really, really curious, it takes a lot of physical, energetic, mental effort.
Yeah. Constantly, actually.
Yeah, constantly the effort to, when somebody speaks to you, to not come up with the answer, or to not think, oh, this is what he means. But if I'm really curious and I say, so how does it look for you? And can you tell me a little bit more about that? And how does that feel in your body? And how is your body moving when you feel that? So I'm really diving into every detail instead of thinking, okay, this is. So there is the devotion. And then little by little, you're noticing something is trying to come back up. So this pattern is not going to allow itself to die that easily. There is always a fight there, a struggle, the fire that is testing you. Do you really, really want this to happen? And there needs to become a space in me for this curiosity to happen. And so putting something on the altar, you cannot do it without consciousness. Because if you're not conscious, then actually what you're putting on the altar is something of the mind.
Yeah, so it's really about, you say, like, naming it, devoting yourself to it, and then it's a continuous practice. Yeah. It's not like I'm building a fire, I'm throwing it in, and that's it.
Yeah. Maybe something that is more tangible would be a relationship. So if, and I've been through this in the past month, so it would be funny not to give that example, although I was hesitant before to give this example because it feels raw. But to put my relationship, my partnership, my marriage on the altar, that was one of the hardest things in my life to do. Being married with my husband for 16 years, and we are together for almost 20, there are so many patterns and so much codependency created within our relationship. And it wasn't even like, this is what people think, that when you put it, it's because it's not good. But my relationship with my husband, for everybody involved, I think, on the outside, looked as a very beautiful relationship with it, it also is. We have a beautiful marriage, we have a beautiful friendship, we have a beautiful partnership. And yet I felt there is a part of me in this togetherness that is not alive. And at that moment I knew I have to put our marriage on the altar. And with putting it on the altar is saying, I'm saying goodbye to this form. Whatever it is, I'm allowing it to die. Which is basically saying, I'm allowing our marriage to die. I'm saying goodbye to you and to this form. Without saying, I want to divorce you. That's throwing away.
What you're doing is the old version that you're so attached to, because you recognize you're so attached to it, you let it go and you open up, you're curious to what wants to exist.
And it's in every perspective. Like now we're talking about my relationship, so it touches me, of course, really deeply, and there is also a lot of consciousness about it. I'm talking about somebody that is not here and cannot say and voice his perspective to my perspective, which we all know he has. So please, I'm very aware of this. He has a different perspective maybe than I'm having, but from my perspective. But if we take it to every part, like take it to your job.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of people I guide, also cinematographers, and I've guided a lot of people in also their careers. Like, so I don't want this anymore. Okay, you don't want this anymore, or you don't want this form anymore.
Yeah, because there's likely one or two specific things about this form that are the reason.
Withholding something. Yeah. And so for you, for example, this work also as a cinematographer is expressing your world in visions, like in images. It's your quality, it's your talent, it's your way of creating, it's your way of communicating with existence. And if you would be doing it only in a commercial perspective, something in you would die and would ask for freedom.
Yeah, 100%. And I've witnessed in the 13 years that I've been doing this now, so many evolutions and phases and certain things that disappeared and came back and wanted to come back, or and but it's also the other side. If well, I don't know. Ideally, the whole I'm not. There has been a phase as well where I recognized I was kind of pushing the commercial work away, but actually, that's also not necessarily the right thing and not the right place, because it has a part and it's also playing, it's also helping other people, and it's also giving me the majority of my income, which is me being able to do all kinds of things I love like this. And if I would be very strict to myself and say, I only want to make films that are 100% aligned, I would probably make 2 films a year, and I would have no way to actually pay the mortgage and all this other stuff. So it's also, seeing that these other things like can work together, but just being, well, I kind of did. I didn't call it as such at the time, but like a couple of years ago, my biggest client, I really felt it wasn't aligned. I wasn't ready to yet let go. And the next year I worked with him, it was quite a struggle. And then I was really ready to let go. Going back to what we talked about in the beginning, but if you're not moving, the universe will help you move. Yeah. And then it was financially was a big sacrifice, I thought, but the gap filled in with other new projects and stuff. And it was just what needed to happen. Yeah. And I haven't dropped filmmaking as a whole, but I have dropped that client.
Exactly. And this is what I love, because this is what I feel. I didn't know, and you didn't know that at the time. Like I didn't know at the time that I put my marriage on the altar, I didn't know that we will actually become 16-year-old again and fall in love with each other and have like this unimaginable depth in our marriage. Like, you spoke to me, I was underground, like lying and thinking that I was dying, literally dying, suffocating. Like, I had panic attacks for the first time in many years. And this is how dying should feel like. Dying is not comfortable. When it's comfortable, then you're not putting something real on the altar.
Yeah.
It's always uncomfortable. When you're putting this client on the altar, you actually know, ooh, this is really scary because I might not be able to take care of myself financially anymore. It's real.
Yeah.
When you are, now I'm thinking about the devotion for the course that we are doing, and a lot of people spoke in that about putting their inauthentic self on the altar. Like, putting your inauthentic self on the altar means I'm going to hold myself to being authentic. And if you're doing it correctly, then you're panicking. That's a big, big panic, to show up as yourself in places that other people see you totally differently. And I'm realizing more and more how deep those wounds go. So putting stuff on the altar, it's not a thing of the mind, it's a thing of a deep communion between the body and the soul, evolution, the ecstasy, the expansion. And I'm also seeing that what is withholding us sometimes from putting stuff on the altar is not only something that we can be in consciousness of. Like, after this whole thing that I've put on the altar, like putting my marriage up on the altar, I, like, in my dreams, in the dream time, I would get so many dreams about lives where I was holding, when I was held hostage and tortured, and like really vividly flash memories, like needles in my nails, pushing to blood. Super uncomfortable. How it manipulated I need security. I need a golden cage where I can feel safe, where I'm not fully showing myself, but I show myself like maybe 80%. That's enough. I'm loved. He loves me. I love him. We have a beautiful family. We have a beautiful house. I do what I want. It can look like freedom, but those 20%, they are alive in you. They want to live. And so usually if we are not living them, it becomes shadow. And then it comes out normally in not healthy ways. So it's a beautiful dance, a beautiful orchestra of understanding the shadows. We were talking about previous lifetimes, about how that is walking in our path, about our ancestral lineages that brought us to who we are today. And it's all a dance with coming into awareness, deeper and deeper and deeper awareness of everything that is moving us and moving through us, and how we can help it move.
Yeah.
Not make it move. I think that's the thing that we are trying to.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, well, for me, that's going to be a continuous practice for the rest of my life, I believe. But
I wish I already mastered this. Ah, yes, that would be so nice. For me, it's also practice. And it takes courage. I think that this is something, like, I think always when a client comes to me and lies on my table or sits with me, afterwards I say thank you for being courageous, because I really want people to know it takes a lot of courage to change. It takes a lot of courage to be aware of something. It takes a lot of courage to say yes when you don't know what you're saying yes to. It goes exactly against everything that we have been taught and what is being projected to us by the society nowadays. Like, look at an insurance website. How many, like, you can get insured for almost everything. Yeah. I will insure you your breath. If you stop breathing, pay me. You know, so there is, we seem to, the story that is being told to us that we can buy and make everything. And actually what COVID showed us, you're absolutely nothing. I can change you in a swift. I can make your whole world stop now.
And if the whole world stops, you have the power to change your own world, regardless. Yes. Yeah.
Which was why a lot of people, like for me, it was a very potent time. So why a lot of people changed in that moment, because everything stood still.
Yeah.
So the beauty, I think, is to find the stillness within, and to find, this is, I'm voicing this, and at the same time I know that I'm voicing it for myself, because taking the time to take that breath instead of starting the engine and drive, that's where the magic happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel there is such a deep intelligence in that.
Slowing down, especially when you feel like there's no room to slow down. Yeah. Because a deeper part of you knows that that's exactly what needs to happen, even though the rest of you is screaming, keep going, run, run, run. Yeah.
Keep on running.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so difficult. We all find it difficult. And yeah, going, like, I feel the wrap up.
Yeah, well,
yeah, and I feel, well, this is life, living life in a ceremony. This is all, for me, what living a shamanic life, living life from a shamanic perspective, it's all about listening, slowing down, listening, tuning in, following the intuitions, like following the whispers. Oh no, it's not the right way. Okay, I haven't failed. I just learned something new. I will go this direction. I will feel that. Yeah, that's the beauty of life.
Yeah, and thanks for being so open and have the courage for that in this conversation as well, and sharing deeply personal stories, and also showing. I saw some of the comments on YouTube, people thinking that, I mean, I know you're not perfect either, and it's beautiful that you're willing to share that, because I think it makes it more relatable, and for people also to continue their own practice and to make things a bit more tangible for themselves, and at the same time feeling deep into the information, the wisdom, the stories that you have to bring. So thanks so much again.
Thank you.
And
thank you also really for voicing this, because I find it, it takes me a lot of courage to show up in this vulnerable state, and at the same time, I really feel that it's the only way to be a teacher in these days, if you can call yourself a teacher. Like I'm a student all the time, and you're only mirroring me when you're sitting across to me. So I'm not the teacher and you're the student. We are mirroring to each other, and it's the same with the listeners or the viewers for this. So I think that we only can show up in an authentic way because there are already so many gurus. Yeah. There are people that know this much better than me. There are my teachers and their teachers and their teachers, and they also didn't know everything.
And they also still make mistakes.
Yeah, so everybody that tells you that they know, actually that's where my thing comes up.
Big red flag.
Well, if you would have been enlightened. You weren't here. Yeah. So if you're here, talk real. Show me that you have the struggles. Like I'm thinking now, just a little small thing before we wrap up, because I was thinking about somebody that says like, that knows me for a long time and says, wow, it was like really listening to like the great people that are talking about energy. I cannot name a name now, and then I said, well, yes, and at the same time, they're only people as well.
Yeah.
Like I want to see those people practice every day. Let's see what happens there. This is why I love Ram Dass. You know, he's my favorite teacher because he shows his humanity. We are all in this human experience. And in the human experience, in the little me, we are all struggling. And some of us are just a little bit more expanded to allow the higher self to talk through them.
Yeah, beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Keren. And everyone listening, watching, thanks so much again for tuning in. I hope you got so much out of this, and I hope that you will find something to devote yourself to and to continue the practice, and to really open up and allow for something more beautiful, still more beauty and more love to arrive into your life. And looking very much forward to see you again next week. Bye-bye. Thanks for watching or listening to the Spirit Unfolding podcast. I'm so grateful that you've joined us in this episode, and I hope that you've gained valuable insights and inspiration that you can apply to your own life. If you enjoyed the episode, please share it with your family, friends, and on social media. And subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts so we can reach more people and bring on bigger guests. Thank you, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.